a new rise.
If somebody lift those hands,
It's a new rise.
I need you to speak it over your own life
It's a
tonight.
new rise.
It's a new rise.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Propel Deep Dive. I'm Megan DiMartino, and I am here every Thursday night with a very special guest. But tonight is very special to me because we are now in the Clubhouse BWC room that is going to be having an evening room. I guess that's what it's called, or a house. But I have been with Glenn Lundy since Breakfast with Champions since 2018. And when he came on to Clubhouse in 2000, end of 20 and into 21, I joined he and the other folks. And so it's been a journey of connections. And that's really what the Propel Deep Dive is about. But a little bit about me. I've been in the beauty industry for 35 years. I've been manufacturing clinical result-oriented skincare for 31 years. These products are sold to salons, spas, medical spas, as well as to the consumer. We recently have put together an affiliate program, which we're very excited about. But my heart has been about education and training. So several years back, I sold a portion of my luxury day and medical spa. And during that postseason, I started a podcast, Unique Leaders Live, as well as put together and worked on and put together a program called Propel Your Business and Life Activation Program. And then in the mid to late 22, I met Angeline Moore, who is my just partner in so many things. And we started putting together the Propel community. So as Angeline shared, there is a link on the top to join the Propel community where you get the Propel Daily, a little bit of my heart of encouragement and inspiration. A Monday motivation mindset e-blast or an email. We repeat that on Fridays. And so with that said, in between the week, we do the deep dive, which is where I invite a guest to join me. And this guest is a person that has been in my heart, that the Holy Spirit has guided me to, that will give you inspiration and encouragement. My 5 C's that are the foundation of the Propel Your Business and Life program are clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. And these folks that I have and have invited to join me have all 5s. They are really Propel people. They have propelled their business and lives no matter what the adversity or challenges are. We all have them, guys. And that is what my heart is, to help you see in their stories that you will resonate with their stories, their compelling stories, to see yourself, but to give you that encouragement to start, scale, and sustain the business or life of your dreams. It's not for me to choose what that is. It's your vision, your mission, your goal. So it is here where we then, on the Propel stage, we go into StreamYard, and a guest is, I will introduce Denise Fuller Warren in a minute, but then we're also now on Clubhouse. Wow, in the BWC room. And then we're also streaming out to YouTube, to LinkedIn and Instagram Live and Facebook Live in the Propel business page. So it's very exciting and robust. So put your questions in. Angeline is moderating everything. And then with it, including Clubhouse, looking at those, over there on the side where you can put your questions or thoughts or comments in, which would be great. So she's going to moderate that. So Denise Fuller, my person that I was going to have tonight has moved to February. And so I said to myself, who would I like to have Holy Spirit? Who would you like? And Denise and I had just had a conversation, and she and I have known each other for 20 plus years, but we just had a conversation about catching up, but also about going forward. And that's really what life is about. It's about that connection, that communication, but putting plans together to move forward. Denise has been a professional in this beauty industry, in the aesthetic world, for probably 30 years. She'll share this story with you. But I met Denise as she was in publishing with one of the lead the trade magazines. And so I met her then because my line Glycolique, my first skincare brand, I advertised, I did the conferences, I did some classrooms and things, spoke and things of that nature. So I got to know Denise. I was a contributor also in the magazine. So then 20 years ago, and they're celebrating this, she started NASN Pro, National Aesthetic Spa Network Pro. And that is a series of conferences very dedicated to education and communication networking, and it also has a publication. So she has, done so much for the aesthetic world, for so much for the growth of it, but she's also worked through so many major tragedies that none of us, or many of us, I should say, really could navigate the way she has. So without further ado, I would like to invite my dear friend and guest for this evening, Denise Fuller Warren. Hello, Mr.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. It is an honor and a pleasure to be with you this evening on so many platforms. I mean, it's amazing what we can do with technology in 2024 versus 20 years ago. So kudos to you for always being a forerunner, pivoting and doing what you do so well and with grace and beauty because you are from the industry. So again, thank you. It's my honor to be here this evening.
Well, I do want to make something perfectly clear. I could not and will not and never not be able to do what Angeline Moore is doing behind the scenes so beautifully with grace and beauty. So with her, a Kingdom Sparkle agency, folks, you must, and Angeline, do on Clubhouse and here put your links together as well, because again, she is a brilliant mind, but also a beautiful heart and tremendous talent. So yes, Denise, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, to be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and you'll see the questions come on the bottom, and I have my glasses in hand because I can't see, but Angela will help with that. So you heard the overview of, the Propel, and this is really my heart, Denise, of the deep dive, is really to give you a platform, yes, but also to have you and I help others to see that they too can navigate through challenges, tragedies, meaning everyone doesn't have the same story, but the point is that everyone has a story. Everyone.
Absolutely. And there's that thread of humanity that it doesn't matter if you are, what the challenge is. For some, it may be, death of a spouse. Maybe it's a child that has run away. There is a plethora of hurts out in our world today. And, if we can show grace and kindness and compassion for others, and instead of, pushing them down, giving them that hand and lifting them up. But how do you do that? Well, it's one by sharing your story. And, that's why they call it a testimony, because you have been tested, you've been tried through the fire, and now you have a story of how you overcome it, how you achieved what you did. And some of it is ugly, and some of it is a lot of tears. And yet I hope by the end of this evening, both Megan and myself have offered encouragement that even in the depth of darkness, there is hope. There's
Amen.
hope.
That is my mantra, hope and possibilities just over the horizon, always. So Denise, we met in the 90s.
We did.
When we worked for a major trade publication.
Mm-hmm.
And got to know each other on that level. The client, advertising and doing the trade shows and speaking, and then of course being involved with some contributing in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, a little snapshot of before that, meaning that because what I want, even though you and I are both beauty biz girls,
Mm-hmm.
even though that is fact of our backgrounds, business is business, and
Yep.
background stories are all the same. So what led you to get into what you did when I first?
Well, I'm just an esthetician by trade, and an esthetician is a skincare specialist. I'm licensed. And then I also went to Australia and became a beauty therapist. Other countries around the world do usually have more education than what we have in the United States, because a beauty therapist encompasses nails, makeup, and massage. We're here in the States, they're very segmented. So either you are a cosmetologist and your focus is on hair, or massage, it's that wellness and working on the body, or aesthetics. And that's where I focused. My passion was in aesthetics. But then when I went to Australia, I wanted a little bit more. I did some naturopath classes. I, again, did a deep dive in that wellness, that overall, because, our face doesn't end right here. It really cascades throughout our whole body. It's a 360 approach, inner and outer. So when you start looking at it that way, you're not only treating topically, but you're also helping internally through guidance, maybe with nutrition or wellness or fitness, or listening to those that are hurt. When you're out of balance, emotions, guess what? Emotions can come out in your skin. If you're experiencing rage, if you're experiencing sadness, if you're experiencing severe depression, your epidermis is one of the largest organs in the body. And guess what? Whatever is going inside shows outside. So in Australia, with the schools that I went to, or the education pathway I went to, they really focused on that as opposed to just creaming and steaming. So that really set me apart from a lot of other estheticians in my industry, because I had a little bit more credentials and certifications. And then I had the opportunity to start to contribute to publications, which got my name out there. And then I've also worked as an educator from various companies, and I've worked with celebrity clientele, Celine Dion, Susan Lucci, but really where I can say I learned the most was that publishing magazine that I worked with as the editor-in-chief. But before that, I was actually at a trade show, and you know how trade shows are, Megan. You are, it's one of those things you're like, hey, Megan, I'm on the trade show floor, and I'm going to this classroom. And 20 years ago, we didn't have Facebook and necessarily cell phones and text and this and that. So often we would bypass our friends and colleagues. Well, another esthetician and myself, I was actually complaining. What do you do when you're a woman? You tell a friend and you complain. And so she challenged me to stop complaining. Do something proactive, start an organization, start a meet and greet. Let's get estheticians together. And that's what we did. In 2004, we had a very small meeting in Daytona, Florida, and there was only 12 estheticians, no vendors, granola bars, water bottles. And with that, now we have over 40,000 members. And those 40,000 members are estheticians, chiropractors, wellness providers, makeup artists, physicians, plastic surgeons, cosmetic formulators, cosmetologists, nail technicians, and massage therapists. So anyone that is in that space of wellness, spa, salon can join. And our membership is complimentary. It has been complimentary from day one. And why I do that is because I feel so strongly it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you are socioeconomic or what's going on in your economics. You should always have the opportunity to be able to gain access to resources. Why am I paying to get access to benefits? So that's what we have in our membership portal. We have education, discounts to hotels, car rentals. I just used the car rental the other day because I'm flying out tomorrow morning to Florida. So, I use these benefits myself personally. And then we have, yes, go ahead.
So I just want to stop here for a minute. So because I want to really highlight the fact, I want our guests to hear this, that this gal started with 12 people in a room with a desire, with a heart to help. and happens to be in the spa wellness arena. But this can be on any level with what you do. But the key to it is that commitment, one of the C's, that commitment to being present, to be there for the community. Because one of the things that is so lacking in the spa industry, I'm right here in our clinic, in the boutique, is the I don't want to say lack of communication and education, but that's a piece of it. And so you, Denise, have, when I say communication, meaning because every day in business, there is some challenge every day. I don't care what it is. And
Yes.
so that is what you have offered. And what is so unique about Nascent Pro, which is what she started back 20 years ago in 2004 with 12 people, is that you were committed and you were present and you continued on. And so that gives me, I'm just going to share this. I started the Propel community last year, and it is free. There's no charge to join the community. And with that said, we now have, I don't need, Angeline could tell me, but we have over 120 people. Now that's not huge, but it's growing. You have to start somewhere. That's the point of the point. And that's why I want to stop you, because again, I want people to really hear this, that it's about that decision, that clarity. You knew, as you knew, that it was time to do this. You knew, because you had been in the industry in many facets by this point, as a provider, meaning you were an esthetician, not only with celebrities, but also the everyday person, but also you had a tremendous amount of education and exposure. So, and then of course, working as the editor for this leading trade publication. And the 90s, by the way, guys, is really the golden days of the spa skincare, let's call it aesthetics. Because when I started my first brand, Glycolic, in 92,
Right.
first glycolic acid line sold into salons. It was. So pioneer of sorts here. But I'll get going to trade shows back in the 90s, which were very few, by the way. I mean, there might have been 20, 30 booths. Now there's, hundreds of booths and shows. And so that's the other piece that I want you to go back to nascent, but is what I really also so admire and respect with you, Denise, is that you've kept very true to your commitment of that it stays focused on education and communication, meaning networking / that mentoring. And that's the piece of the need, because as Sharon Lecter always says, solve a problem, serve a need. You knew the problem was, and you're serving that need. And so that then it has grown. I mean, 40,000, hello, and how many shows are, conferences are there now in each year around the country?
We do 7. In 2019, we're actually doing 23. And that was before the world, we all needed to pivot due to COVID. But now we find that 7 is a good number for myself, for my team. And it works out very well to do the regional educational events. They're not big trade shows. Again, it's about the community that comes in, participates, educates. And then, I go back and I say, we learn all together. It's a day of family reunion where we can come and grow and just take back to our business all the little goodies that we have learned throughout the day. And then we have lunch together, and that lunch is included in the ticket price. And I look for places that you don't have to pay for parking because, again, we need to be conscious of all budgets. And if we can kind of stretch the dollar, and if I can, instead of paying $50 for parking, I can get 2 more cleansers or put it towards an equipment. To me, that's a win. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and yes. So the 7, just share with our guests what cities are these. And of course, Angeline will put up your information as well for Nascent Pro, but what cities? Because I know Dallas is in November. And
It is, yes. The best way is to actually go to NASN Pro, the website, and go to click conferences, and it's all there. But actually, we're starting our kickoff to our events is actually this Sunday in West Palm Beach, Florida. So we always have our Florida event in January because that's where we started. That's where the company is based. Then in February, we'll be in Orange County. May, we're going to be in beautiful Virginia Beach. Then June, Colorado. Then we go to September, Boston, Massachusetts, October, Philadelphia, more in the Malvern area, but Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then we wrap it up in beautiful Dallas, Texas. But, again, just go to the website and you can find out all that information.
Yes.
But I think it's so important that no matter what business you're in, you'll hear people either say, well, that's a dumb idea. Or on the flip side, when you get to that, you've got a good momentum going, but then something happens, or maybe you get tired, or just life is challenging. Then you bring in a business coach and they may sway you. And I'm not saying all business coaches are bad, because I do have business coaches and I do have mentors, but they've got to resonate and they've got to have a track record of integrity. And you want to make certain that they're not guiding you or putting you off to another pathway that you shouldn't have gone.
So true.
During COVID, every business person tried to stay relevant and had to pivot and had to shift. But your core message of what you started with should still be it. For us, that membership, and I've had business coaches come and say, you need to be charging. And I'm like, that doesn't resonate with my heart. That's not what I want to do. And I think that, again, has kept us separate from others who have maybe tried to go that route. And it just looks like you're just wanting it for all money. And
so unique. It is truly. And guys, if you are, as Denise said earlier, massage therapist or wellness in the wellness industry, on and on and on. It's not just for estheticians, but you hit on something right there. To be a member, and then get digitally the magazine month, rich with information, and then of course some of the seminars or conferences. But you touched on something right here about challenges, and so I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do want to mention this, that when I before you started, and you say NASN, I said NASN.
I do. Yeah.
Yes, NASN. Before you started this, though, you had a personal, just such a tragedy with your husband's passing, and but yet you continued on. And you left the very high pressure job of, editor. And you might have did that before, but the point is that that season you then, I don't want to say regrouped, but you focused on what was important to you, and knowing that that was not going to define you, the tragedy of his passing, and that for your daughters and your family, that you would continue on as well, and certainly yourself. So share whatever you'd like to share about that.
Well, the timeline is actually my first husband. He did help me start the National Aesthetic Spa Network because he was around in 2004. In 2012, he was shot and killed by the police. So it was very tragic. It wasn't an illness that he deceased from. It was actually from something that we had to be in the front pages of the Palm Beach Post. It was a lot. Our family went through a lot. My oldest son was overseas in college, so he was spared. But my younger daughters were the ones that really took the brunt of all of that. And I still was the editor-in-chief of a magazine. So a lot of people knew it wasn't something I could shy away from. It was tough. But my personality is, my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad was a naturopath doctor, and they taught me, you have to go to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. And that is biblical. However, Sometimes you do need to have some time. There's a season to grieve, and I did not do that. I suddenly was a single mom. I was in Miami. It was very expensive to live, and I had a job. So, Dan, my first husband passed away on Sunday, and on Monday morning, I was at work, and we just kept going. I took 2 days off to have the funeral and never missed a deadline and just kept going. Well, that did take a toll on my children, and it took a toll on me, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And then in 2014, so about a year and a half, I realized that Miami was not going to work for my children or for myself. So we parted with the publication, and I actually moved to Pennsylvania. I had an opportunity to buy a Victorian home with a couple women business partners, and the idea was we were going to take some of the money and really invest it. Well, that didn't quite work out the way I was thinking it was going to. One of the business partners decided that she didn't want to be a business partner anymore. And here I am in negative 14 degrees. I've never been in snow. Again, my daughters are looking at me going, "What have you done?" And because now we have no friends around. Thank God, one of the business partners was a very devout Christian. And she looked at me and she goes, "You're a widow and I'm going to help you. You need help." And I kind of went, "Yeah, I do." I mean, I was a hot mess. During that time of the renovation, I was able to work out a lot of emotions. There is nothing better than taking a sledgehammer to a wall and breaking it down. And so for 8 years, we built up this beautiful Victorian home. I was able to get my oldest daughter graduated from high school and graduated from college with her bachelor's degree. My youngest daughter graduated from the same high school, and now she just about 6 months ago graduated as an esthetician. But there was two things that were very important to me during this time was my family, but also the National Aesthetic Spa Network. Up till that point, it was kind of a side hustle. We had a lot of volunteers, and the feedback I was getting from my organization that I started was one event was very different, maybe in Dallas versus the one in Florida. And so there was a lot of inconsistency. So I really had to go and say, what is important for right now? Well, one, it came down to my family. And then second was for the organization. And so I really started to write down what I wanted in an organization and where I wanted it to go. And I think in 2014, if I look back, we would have had maybe 8,000 members, and that might be stretching it, but maybe about 8,000. And I wanted it to grow. I wanted us to be a platform of support, resources, and education, that hub for all of those pillars. And then, of course, with my daughters, I had made a commitment that I wasn't going to date. They weren't ready. They had only ever seen me with their father. And because it was such a public way their father passed, I knew I needed to be very strong for them. And so I did not bring men home. I did not date. God had already told me that I was going to remarry someday. And so I kind of jokingly, that message came down before my husband had passed away. And I kind of jokingly said to God, "Well, you better get rid of him before, I can't be married to two guys." And I'm kind of then about 6 months later, he did pass. And I kind of was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But God knew. God knows the beginning and God knows the ending and all the in-betweens. And so later, I've also had a very passion because most people don't realize in the spa and salon industry, there's a lot of trafficking. Well, the one thing through the organizations that we partner with trafficking, traffickers, pedophiles, they target single moms because they can be there to help babysit. They can help with, taking them out for dinner or ice cream. And at the time, I just felt really strongly that I did not want to date. I wasn't ready. So a couple of years ago, I started to feel that I needed to get myself ready to date. And I knew it was starting to because the youngest had graduated, and the Lord just kept prompting me to do things, feel better about myself. I needed to focus on my health and, be open to the possibilities of love coming back into my life. So last year, we had another huge tragedy, and it was our house burned down on Christmas Day. So the oldest daughter, she's already married. My son is already married, so they're all out of the house. But Rachel and I were at the house on Christmas Eve, and here we are cooking everything that you do for Christmas and the holidays, sauteing the garlic and the onions and getting the turkey ready and just all the festivities because we're having a big Christmas day, having a big dinner. Well, my daughter came down and it was the coldest winter in a long time in the Northeast. If you think about in 2022, it was -31. Pipes were freezing. So we had been out of water for 2 days. And fortunately, we had been able to get one of our showers, the pipes unfrozen. So Rachel came down. She's like, "Hey, Mom, why don't you take a shower upstairs?" So I was grabbing my stuff from the downstairs bathroom, and I heard a pipe burst. It didn't sound like a pipe. It actually sounded like a bomb going off in my house. So Rachel comes running down. I go running down to the basement, and there's all this water from this pipe that's spewing everywhere. I know enough to go and turn off the water. And if there's one thing I can say to women is if you own or even rent a house, you should know where certain things are. Know how to turn your water off. Know where your breaker box is. And I think because I had renovated this house and knew it top to bottom, I kept a presence of mind. And all I could think was, okay, it's water. So I called a friend and she asked me, she goes, "Okay, did you turn off the water?" "Yes." And I said, "But it hit a heater and now there's sparks everywhere." And she goes, "It's okay. It's blown the fuse. Just go unplug the heater." And so my daughter goes traipsing through water to unplug this heater. And all I can think of is her life flashing before my eyes. So we do that. Again, we're not thinking fire. We go upstairs and I go in again to my bathroom, which is my office, and I see all the smoke coming out of this wall. Rachel comes down. She's like, "Mom, there's an electrical fire." I know what an electrical fire smells. So we called the fire department. 4.5 hours later, it took the fire department to put out the fire. No one died. Praise God. No one got hurt. We had the presence of mind. And as I was going up to the third floor to look to see some cats were up there. We had rented it out. I felt a hand on my chest that said, "You cannot go. Do not go. Go back downstairs." And the only thing I could think of, Megan, was that movie in the 90s, Backdraft, is that if I opened a door, well, sure enough, later when I was talking to the fire department chief, and he goes, "Denise, if you would have opened that third floor door, you would have been incinerated," because none of us had seen the fire. But when we went outside, the roof had collapsed and that third floor was all in flames. So, like I said, 4.5 hours.
Stop you, with because we do have to bring our guests in that are with us. But the thing about all of this is such wonderful. And I had a house fire, like you said, when you said about knowing where things are, it's such an imperative thing to do, to be aware, to just know what to do in circumstances like that. And, but the essence to me of this is you went through one tragedy. I thank you for refreshing the timeline because I didn't remember that you'd still been the editor of the publication when you started NASN, and then your husband passing later. I did not remember that piece. But the point of all of that with the first and then the second tragedy is that she was focused on her family, her business. She had her priorities set and straight. And then this tragedy. Fire is such a defining moment.
It
It's
is.
that cleansing type of moment. And during that season, I'm talking about that weekend,
Mm-hmm.
the now, the what she was leading up to. But I do want to, before you go to the next step, I do
Mm-hmm.
want to, I'm charging my phone, that's why it's moving around. Um, is Angelina, are there any folks in the green room?
Yep, we do have Brian Coletto in the house. I'm going to bring him up on stage. And while we are doing that, I want to say hello to everyone in the Clubhouse space. Thank you for listening to this Propel Deep Dive interview with Megan DiMartino and her special guest, Denise Fuller Warren. Welcome to the evening house here on Clubhouse. So I just want to say hello to Renee, Minnie, Dr. K, Des, Pamela, Sheila, Dr. JS, is Kev, Manny, Jessica, Matt, Elevate, No Number, Victoria, Michael, Faith, and Laura. If you would like to be pulled up onto the stage, feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you up. And if you have a question or comment for Megan or Denise, you're listening to the live stream over on Instagram. We have quite a few viewers. Carrie Conley's on the Litz magazine. Hello, everyone. Alejandro's on there, and a couple others who have popped in throughout. Rail Remedies, Davi, Seven Brain Benefits, Joyce, Joyful Moments, James Calvert Butler, and Osam Sutra. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the deep dive. Megan, back to you. And welcome, Brian.
Hello, Brian, and thank you, everyone that has been visiting with us, with Denise and I. If Carrie, if you can come up, I'd love you to join this conversation because you were a Propel Deep Dive guest several weeks back, but also have, it's that overcoming and working with, I don't know if you ever overcome, but working with the tragedies that have happened in your life. So I'm not going to divert into Carrie Connolly's story. She was with us, and you can go to YouTube and listen to our evening several weeks back. But Denise, so now take me to Christmas, Denise. Here,
Before,
how
before I give it back to Denise, real quick, Laura has joined us on the Clubhouse stage. Laura Bender, do you have a question or comment for Denise or Megan? Welcome to the stage, by the way. You were in the Matrix, Laura. I'm so sorry. I can't hear you, love.
I'm in Montana. I'm driving home. So I may be leaving the stage or staying for y'all, but I'm driving and listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura. She just wanted to say hello, Denise.
Nice, that's great. I think I heard she was in Montana, so she's probably experiencing possibly some snow and sleet. So please stay warm and safe.
I'll have questions, Denise. I just need to listen first.
She says she will have questions if you guys can hear her. But she's going to listen for right now as she's driving. Drive careful, Laura. Oh my gosh. Thank you for coming up. I didn't mean to interrupt, but you guys can go ahead.
No, what I was saying is take us back to that Christmas and the roof caving in and the essence of the next step in your life, meaning that overwhelming peace that you had and understanding that God was in the middle of this.
Absolutely. I mean, there's absolutely no understanding. I mean, we all stood out there in the freezing cold, just going, how did this happen? And, Christmas Day, the firemen, they were wonderful. They tried to get as many presents out. So we did have some presents. There is some humor throughout the thing. Now we can look back and do kind of laugh at certain things and how we acted and whatnot. But Christmas evening, I'm at my daughter's mother-in-law's house. I'm on her couch, along with our pets, along with everyone. And we're still sitting here going, how did this happen? The house is gone. And I get a text message from a former fiance and boyfriend. Now, he's not on social media, but he had been prompted all day to reach out to me. He just kept feeling from the Holy Spirit, you need to reach out to Denise. Now, we've kept in contact. We were always very friendly but respectful because he was married, he's divorced, and then, of course, I was married and widowed. And so I get this text message saying, Merry Christmas, hope everything is okay. I look at it, I'm like, no, everything is not okay. I don't have any underwear. I have no clothes. I don't even have a car because that was in the fire. Like my whole life, all of everything that was in my business is all gone. So some things that I had already ordered for that year's conferences, all gone. So literally I'm rebuilding and going through the mind, and I'm just like, I don't have the energy or the bandwidth. And I hear the Lord say, you will message him back and you will tell him what's going on. And I kind of went, really, God? Seriously? And I'm like, and I'm not thinking anything romantic. I'm just like, fine. So I text him back pictures. And the gentleman name, my friend's name is Doug. Every couple days, he would text me and just be like, wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you and praying about you. How are you? So I would typically go through that list of, well, I had to contact the city today because they're filming my house. Or, oh, I was able to, get some brushes and makeup. And he went, no, how are you? I don't need the laundry list of what to do, but how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Because literally the kitchen's on fire, but I'm still serving dinner because I have my children and I have a business and I just keep going. So he challenged me. I was coming out in February to California for one of my conferences. He's like, Denise, why don't you just take some time, go walk by the beach, go just stop and breathe. And you have had so much going on. You just need to take care of yourself. And so that's what I did. I took 3 weeks in California, and hour after a couple of dinners, he's like, Denise, you were the one that got away. I want to marry you. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. I need to let my children know. We need to take a little bit of time. We need to pray about this. And long story short, he met my children. They fell in love with him. I fell in love with him again. And we were married September 12th in La Jolla. We had just the most amazing wedding, friends and family, very small, but it just God ordained every step. And, when I tell women and men, I'm like, one, have a list. Have a list. And this is so good professionally or personally. Have a list of where you want to go and what you want to have. So, and I had actually had that list of God. I was like, I want a man of faith. I want a man who has a good employment. And, and it was that laundry list of what I desired in a husband. And truly, as Pastor Franklin Jensen says, he has a great sermon on Boaz. Don't settle for dumb as, don't settle for broke as, don't settle for cheap as. I mean, you want your Boaz. And this is what this man is to me. He is everything that I needed, could hope for, and he has been a blessing to the business. So some fresh eyes. And as far as business, I've done that countless times, is where do I want to go in my business? What are my goals? Because, if you don't have a vision, you're not going to go anywhere.
No. So Denise, Brian Coletto is a friend, and Brian has been on Clubhouse for many years as well. He lives in Central Jersey, and he's on the autistic spectrum, and he is one of my champions. He has just evolved his life. Works for a community business, a nonprofit, and has built his career up to director of marketing. And he now is an influencer on LinkedIn, Clapper, so many other platforms. And he does videos daily or weekly, at least a couple, speaking to the community to give them encouragement. And that's really what my heart and hope is, that tonight, listening to Denise and her story, of that there's infinite possibilities. You just can't stop. You stay with what is in your heart. So I have a question for you, Brian, if you would, on mic. I would love you to share what gives you that encouragement to continue going on. well, let me ask that question first. I have a two-parter, Brian. So what gives you that encouragement to continue to do what you're doing?
Well, the short answer to that question, and hi, Megan, hi, Denise,
Hi.
and hello to all who are listening, wherever you are. Uh, what gives me the encouragement to keep going is community. That's what gives me encouragement, um, as well as um, just the thought of not wanting to see kids go through so much loneliness in childhood like I did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what gives me encouragement. And although my energy levels haven't exactly been the same this past week, there were a few things that I turned down going to this week because of other factors. My father had a big milestone birthday last weekend, and also the weather has
Mm.
been a bit
Yes.
rocky in New Jersey, from rain to snow, now back to rain.
Mhm.
So it and
That's
the dark.
paying
Yeah.
attention to your needs, like Denise is talking about. It's about really monitoring. Brian, Denise, and everyone is one of the most generous people I've seen in a long time of their time, meaning that he goes to so many chamber and, networking type of events there to spread his message. And it's very encouraging to see his heart and what he does on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. My second part to it, Brian, is Denise said about keeping is not the right word. And our friend Barbara Majeski there in New Jersey, who's going to be a guest on Deep Dive soon, talking about her book, From Sabotage to Success. I hope I got that right. But Denise shared about journaling in a sense, writing things down. Do you write things down, Brian?
Not very often. I don't. Um, I do think of things in my mind, and I do understand the power of it, but English and writing is definitely my weakness in my life. I'm more of a math nerd than anything else. Um, but I do I don't do a lot of like book reading either. Um, I more like read posts on social media all the time. So I mean I do have an extensive vocabulary. So I do, and
Very
I do think about routines and things like that. In fact, I did recently uh, change up my morning routines for the days that I go to work, where I kind of do what I need to do and then get downstairs and then get on Clubhouse. Um, so there is that intention.
you have an intention, right? An intentional routine, as Glenn will say, that morning routine. So you have Glenn Lundy, by the way, Denise, is the gentleman that I mentioned earlier in my intro, but who started not Clubhouse specifically, but Breakfast with Champions, that room in December of 20. And back in 20 with the lockdown, I mean, there were thousands of people in this room. So it was quite entertaining and quite interesting. So many of us during that season. And so, Brian, is there anything you specifically would like to ask Denise? Because as you've heard, I don't know when you came in, but you heard her story of two major tragedies personally. And what, what would you like to ask Denise?
Um, how did you get back on your feet? Like where did you find the encouragement, and how did you get the help that you needed when you lost your home, and also when I think it was your father
Her
that you mentioned, or
husband.
her first husband that died. Um, yeah, where did you get that encouragement?
I think for me, faith always comes into excuse me, faith always comes into play for me. Without that hope, without God, it's very easy for people to go to drinking or drugs or whatever to avoid facing reality of what's going on.
Mhm.
But for when my husband passed away, I did bereavement counseling with with my daughters. That was very helpful, because one of the things they said in our bereavement counseling is that as a mom, we tend to give, but it's almost like when you're in the airplane and they say, take the oxygen for yourself, then take it to your children. Your children are watching you. Whatever you do, if you don't cry, you're teaching them it's okay not to cry. It's okay not to grieve. And so bereavement counseling, I'm a very big supportive of that when you're grieving, whether it's, whoever passes away, whether it's a parent, a sister, a spouse, it just helps. For the fire, I will have to say the Red Cross was amazing. We can talk about my church and how the Lord stepped in on different things, but as far as various organizations, they were right there. I mean, the fire was still happening and they were right there. And they're like, what do you need? And they gave us a $500 gift card that said we could go get a hotel, we could use clothes, whatever we needed. We just couldn't use it for cigarettes or alcohol. And I'm like, I don't drink, I don't smoke. And he's like, ma'am, there's no judgment here. So sometimes you need to look at your community resources, whether it's a Red Cross, whether it's a shelter, whether it's, for your business. There's a lot of assistance out there now for businesses that wasn't there 20, 30 years ago. And whether it's versus social media, whether it's that brick and mortar. So, again, it's those resources. And if you don't know, sometimes you just need to ask, because there's so many people that maybe have gone through something similar and then say, you know what, I remember this community resource or this businessman, he could help you so much. So whether it's grief, and I'm going to do a plug. I actually was a contributing chapter to Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's a great book. I contributed to one of the chapters in it. It's literally Chicken Soup for the Soul for grieving. And it's just how so many people overcame and all these different. And when I was in the room with the contributing authors, I was humbled. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I would have gone through this. So I've actually given that book out a lot, not just because my chapter, my story is in there, but so many others. They're heartfelt, whelming. They're helpful. And I think that, again, comfort, compassion, and kindness, whether you're doing business or personal. And, thank you for what you do, Brian. We need people to invest in our children. And, from just a little bit I know of what Megan said, again, thank you. And you're right. So many children are ostracized and feel so lonely, whether they have a disability, or just their own personal self, being because of maybe what their family is going through. So, thank you for doing that each and every day. That is wonderful.
You need to friend him on Facebook, Denise, and
Okay.
Instagram. Yes, because you'll be so blessed by his it's so fun. His videos that he does, his lives. Are they live or are they just videos posted?
They're just videos posted
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because then they're there as well as alive. It would possibly stay, but it's there so you can continue to watch it and share it with others. I mean, it's just amazing. And the other piece of Brian, though, is again back to his, like you said, you don't have the gift of writing words on paper, but I say au contraire because you do, because you can't be an influencer on LinkedIn and what you do without communicating. So it may not be writing an essay, but you are communicating your points and your thoughts. So however that is, you're getting it across. So kudos to you, my friend.
Well, and it
Thank you,
might
Meg.
be also easier for you to do in your memo on your phone, because I know a lot of men, they're so savvy with technology. So, we're women, we like to write and drink our cup of tea and snuggle in our robe by the fire. Most men will be like, yeah, not so much me, but maybe, again, when you have a thought or an inspiration, just go into your memo of your phone and keep it like that. I think sometimes we say journaling, and that can be overwhelming for so many. So just, bite size, maybe just start with a word of the day. When you woke up today, what did you feel? Was it joy? Was it inspiration? Was it, kindness? Was it courage? Courage is a big word that we need to pat ourselves on the back, because we get up out of bed every day and seize the day. And sometimes that takes a lot of courage.
I did something this week that was very, very, very special. I did the 3-day thing with Kim Walsh Phillips and Justin Guarini, and it was essentially marketing and speaking, and full of information. But one of the things that Justin shared, as he was sharing, he was second place in the first season of American Idol, and he shared about some stories of courage, which is speaking about, but he spoke about the word confidence, and it was so powerful. And it's a Latin word, and the root is trust. So we think of the word confidence as haughty and all full of ourselves, but really it's self-trust. And I was so excited when he shared this, because to me, in the 5 C's of the Propel program, first comes courage, and that courage muscle builds confidence. And it is the same thing that Justin was speaking about, is that trust in yourself. And so I want to end the evening with this, is yourself, Denise. Speak about your self-trust in the middle of these challenges.
Right. So I think one thing, and I heard this and I thought it was so wonderful put. So whether you believe in God, you want to say source, universe, the answer is always yes. So when you start your self-talk in the morning, what are you saying? Oh, today's not going to be a good day. Or maybe you're driving to work and you're hitting every red light, and then you're just like, oh, this day is going to suck because I'm going to be late. Well, guess what? God, source, universe says, okay, yes, we're going to give you, blockages. You're going to hit every red light. But instead, turn that around, that everything is a yes and amen. So, I may be running late, but this is for the goodness of me, because I'm missing maybe an accident. And you can just use that. So change your inner conversation, and you have to trust the process. And I think for me, when the house burned down, suddenly I felt so free. There was something about, that when they say the phoenix rising from the ashes, there was nothing that I couldn't do. The possibilities were open. So I literally, while we were going through the rubbish, trying to find things, I had soot all over my face. It was freezing cold. I just went, okay, God, you've literally shut this door. I mean, there is no more door even to shut, but what are you going to show me for opportunities? What are the possibilities? And my answer is going to be yes, wherever you take me. So from Pennsylvania, I'm now in beautiful San Diego, California with my husband. And I don't want to say, just getting married is the answer, but you got to find the answer. You got to look in. And a lot of it at the time is just, when you leap, the net will appear, but the possibilities and the opportunities are going to happen, because you're no longer tied or tethered down. So look up, believe, be encouraged, and know that the answers are coming. And the answers are yes, because it's going to be in your favor.
So good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So as we draw this evening to a close, what a beautiful way to end this. And thank you, Brian, for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for coming into the Propel community. This is a community that is building, and we're here for you. And they'll have, we and I have many things coming up, but it starts with that morning text that you receive of a bit of, as Denise is talking about, hope and encouragement and inspiration. I call that the Propel Daily. You receive e-blast during the week, but the Monday motivation mindset, Thursday night, the Propel deep dive with my guests. So fabulous, so compelling, like Miss Denise Fuller Warren. And what an amazing story. And again, back to the Holy Spirit and listening, is she and I spoke on Monday.
Yep.
And then Tuesday, my guest who's moved to the 15th, I was like, okay, so who are we going to invite this, week, Father? And I said, I heard Denise. So hello, hello. So thank you, Miss Denise, for joining. And I so look forward to this next phase of my work, of what I do, and joining you in NASN Pro and involved with that. Because that is my heart. And anyone that knows me knows that it is about helping others start, scale, and sustain the business and life of their dreams. So we'll see you. And Angelina's had the link. It's in the clubhouse room to join the Propel community. So till next time, tomorrow morning on Propel Daily. But Denise, thank you. And I know your information has been on the screen as well. So join the NASN Pro. It's no charge, and you will be so blessed by the people, the amazing people that are involved with this community. So
Well, thank you, Megan. I appreciate you joining, you inviting me on this platform. And, it's great to see your community, my community, we're just getting bigger and stronger. And that's through leadership and commitment.
linking arms. And you can go to YouTube and listen to this again, and on Clubhouse in the replays. So we will be around, my girl. We'll be around for others. So thank you all. We'll see you next week. Be blessed.
Blessed.